Alright, we're gonna go over this game that you guys played on Tuesday. Let's get right into it. Yeah, so again, you guys are going kind of slow at starting the game off with getting like deep vision in. So just looking at the team compositions, right? So you know that they've got a very engaged top laner, a gank-centric jungler, a assassin mid laner, and then an aggressive bot lane, right? So how that matches up against your lanes is you have also an engaged top laner, a gank-centric jungler, more of a passive mid laner, teamfight oriented instead of an assassin, but then also like an aggressive bot lane equally as focused on team fighting. Now, seeing that their jungler is Twitch, right? He could start on either buff, because Twitch doesn't necessarily need blue buff to start off with. And what Twitches can do a lot of the times is grab red buff and then go level 2 gank. So he could start over here on their red buff and then go and gank top or mid if you guys are pushed up, just based on his ability to clear the buff and then not need blue, because he doesn't use a lot of mana until later in the game. Or he could start on blue buff and then go to red and then level 3 gank somebody after clearing wolves or something. So it's actually really important against a Twitch to get that early vision down to know which buff he's starting at. Because if you know which buff he's starting on, then it's a lot easier for you to predict where he's going to gank and then play around that. So Lee Sin probably wants to start on red buff. So if you have vision of their red buff and you see that Twitch is there, then you know that Lee Sin can go from red to either gank bottom at level 2, though Lee Sin prefers level 3 for ganks. But you could get a level 2 gank on bottom if you see Twitch on red. So like, if their jungler is starting on the opposite side of the map from you, and you're starting over here, okay, you can level 2 gank on bottom, and if you do that, then you just have your bot lane not push up past right here. That way it makes the gank easier, especially for somebody like Lee Sin who likes to have all 3 of his buttons. That way he can, be more mobile, but you probably just, go QE. If you miss the Q, then gank's pretty much dead, but Lee Sin can still try to go for 2 gank. Because then that Twitch, he's going to either try a level 2 gank from red buff, or he's going to go to his wolves then blue. Now at this elo, generally in solo queue at least, people really like to do just like full jungle clears instead of ganking that heavily. But you should still expect the most optimal play from your opponents. So now if this is Lee Sin's path, then your mid lane also has to play passively, and your top laner also has to play passively. Because you have to be prepared for Twitch to show up. And if you make yourself gankable, then that's where Twitch will show up at, or just whoever their jungler is. Alright. Now, if we go to a different scenario, let's say the other thing that Lee Sin can do, this is still with Twitch starting on red. So Lee Sin could start blue, or start red, and then go to wolves, and then go to blue, and then level 3 gank either top or mid. Which is where you would want to have your top lane and mid lane still play passively, but in this situation, your bottom lane can play more aggressively until about the 2.5 minute mark, or 3 minute mark when you would expect, the 3 minute mark when you would expect Twitch to be done with clearing his blue buff. So once Twitch, if he goes to wolves and then down to blue, and then he can gank bottom. So your bot lane can shove in for the first minute and a half of laning phase, but then needs to be prepared for the gank. And then your mid lane can just stay passive because you have to be prepared for the level 2 gank. Whereas Twitch can obviously, if Twitch ganks bot lane at level 2, then he's actually behind without getting kills because he didn't get the 3rd jungle camp. He probably just went red-blue gank, which means he's behind in level from your jungler. And then another scenario is you ward. So you only have to ward one buff to know where the enemy jungler is starting. If you ward their blue buff and you don't see him on the ward, then you know that he's starting on red. There's a chance that some junglers can start wolves or raptors, but that's less likely. For a Twitch, your jungler is certainly going to be starting on a buff. Not many junglers start on one of those smaller camps. Ornn can easily do raptors or wolves level 1 with a small leash from mid. Gragas. So there are a few junglers that can, but raptors do a lot of damage, so most junglers are going to be starting on buffs. So they actually do less damage than the raptors without having just a ton of wave clear. Like Shyvana could also start on raptors because she has all the AoE damage. So being aware of, as the jungler, you need to be able to be aware of where the enemy's jungler can start and what their path can be. Alright, so we're going to look at what happens if you see Twitch on blue. So if Twitch starts on blue, he's probably not going to level 2 gank because he doesn't have the red buff. So if he starts on blue, he's probably going to go wolves and then red, and then be ready to gank top or mid. And so this is the scenario in which if you see him starting on blue, then your bot lane can play very aggressively, and your mid and top lane can play passively at that 3-minute mark. Otherwise, they can play aggressively up until then. Or you can actually set up where your opponent is going to gank. So if you know that he wants to start blue and then go wolves red and then level 3 gank, either top or mid, then you can have Lee Sin just match the red wolves blue, and then have, say, for instance, your mid lane play passively and your top lane play aggressively. That means Twitch's only options are either to farm more, which is Krugs and Raptors, or to gank top. So if you know his only option for ganking is top, then Lee Sin can easily just go up there and counter gank. You can sit in this bush or this bush and counter gank him when Twitch comes in. Or you can look to make invade plays. Lee Sin, after doing blue, can come over to the Raptors, see if they've been cleared or not. If the Raptors have been cleared, and you knew that he was starting on blue buff, then that means Twitch is probably doing a full clear, which means he's not looking to gank until after his first recall, so you don't have to worry about a gank until about 5 minutes. So that's a lot of just early pathing options that you need to be aware of from the junglers, and that's why it's very important to get down at least one ward on an enemy buff around a minute 40, because your trinket wards last for 60 seconds, so if you place the ward at 40 seconds, then it'll be up at a minute 40 when they're going to be on the buff, or just whatever camp they're going to start on. So let's look to see where they're starting. Twitch is starting on blue. So if you had a ward, there are a lot of ways to ward this. So you can path in, as a team, always do pathing like this as 5 at the beginning of the game, or at least as 4, that way you don't get ambushed too heavily if they're just sitting in a bush somewhere. So as 4 people, you come in through here, and then, so like right through here, and then you can just ward right here. You don't have to get the ward in the bush. You'll know if he's starting there or not once this is here. Because minions don't meet in lane until slightly after the buffs start, except for mid. So if your ward is here, and then at a minute 40, Twitch hasn't started clearing this buff, like as soon as it spawns, if nobody's attacking it, then you know he's on red. And then that's when your lanes can choose to play aggressively or passively based on which side of the map the jungler is on. And then as the jungler, you can either be aware of, can you effectively counter gank, and Lee Sin can absolutely effectively counter gank Twitch, especially since he has true sight, so it makes it very difficult for Twitch to sneak away. And then Jarvan's level 2 is very effective. It's a very aggressive level 2, especially if you have sudden impact. Lee Sin should also probably take sudden impact, as a rune because Lee Sin and Jarvan are doing all of their damage generally after dashing. So the bonus damage from sudden impact is going to apply to Jarvan's EQ auto, and then it's going to apply to Lee Sin's QQ E auto. That's right. So sudden impact is very, very good on those sorts of champions. Also, like if you ever play Kalista as an AD carry, Kalista definitely takes sudden impact because every single one of her auto attacks counts as a dash. So it's just constantly triggered. I want to see the Twitches around. Yep, Twitch went blue, then Wolves, and he... What's he doing? That's interesting. He's going for a level 2 gank after clearing blue buff. Alright, so let's look at Twitch's what Twitch decided to do here. It is 2:44. Twitch has only cleared 2 camps, and Lee Sin has cleared 3. By the way, I just want to say that I hate the way they're measuring jungle camp CS, that every single camp counts as 4 CS now. Because in the old system, Twitch would be sitting on 4 CS, and Lee Sin would be sitting on 5. And you could actually count, if you look at your opposing jungler's CS, you would actually know what camps they had been to already. So, for instance, when Twitch does this gank in the old system, you could press tab and be like, he has 4 CS, I know what camps he's done. But anyways, they changed it, and I think it's dumb. It actually makes the skill ceiling for junglers lower, which is kind of a good thing, because jungler is the hardest position to play, because you have to have, as a jungler, you have to have knowledge of every single lane and matchup, and how they play out, and as well as your opponent's jungle matchups, whereas laners generally like to be aware of their lane. So that's kind of a good thing that they lower the skill ceiling on it, but I think it's also bad because it allows for you to glean. It would allow for you to glean information that you could get information without having wards, basically. Anyway, so we see that Twitch has cleared 2 camps by looking at his 8 CS. You don't necessarily know which 2, except for blue buff, obviously. And now it's 2:44, and Twitch is just leaving mid lane, whereas Lee Sin is looking for what should be a pretty effective gank up top because of how pushed up top lane is right now. For the opponents, that is. And Twitch has to go clear his red buff because he's behind. He's a level behind, and he's 100 gold behind. Probably should be 100. Yep, he's exactly 100 gold behind. And he's a level behind. So he has to go clear red buff now. Otherwise, if he was to go try to gank again, he would just fall further behind. And this is why what I was talking about earlier, going a level 2 gank without having just red buff into the gank is going to put you behind. If you go buff, camp, gank, it's going to be very ineffective. You got to go, if you're going to clear a second camp, you just need to go ahead and get your second buff before ganking, and that's going to be pretty much true on any champion. Alright, so let's be playing this out. See how this gank up top goes. I like that you just walk up and get the slow first. That's really good play for Lee Sin. Because if you are just gonna go up and get the slow down first on him, it obviously makes it a lot easier to hit your Q. So I like that play. So it looks like Twitch just went straight to top lane, which is horrible because look at this. He's level 2. He's at 150 health. He's pretty much just gonna die. Hey, look at that! You killed him. Yeah, that is why you don't do any of those things I was just talking about as Twitch or really any jungler. Alright, this is a really easy return gank. Not a good Q there, but really easy return gank because this don't teleport right into a lane if you know the enemy jungler is still there. That actually makes me want to talk about a gank style called the Bengi gank. If you remember the jungler for SKT Bengi, who was SKT's jungler from at least Season 3 through last season. What he would do a lot of times is do these, what have now just been coined as bingy ganks, and it's mainly just effective for top lane because of how the bushes work, and just how the lane generally works. It can work in bot lane as well, but since there are two people, it's more likely that bushes are warded, so it makes it more difficult. And also bot lane doesn't have teleport. So this mainly works because top lane has teleport. So you just saw that Kled teleported back down here for no reason. It's a terrible teleport. He should have teleported to his tower. It's a billion times safer. Lee Sin had just taken a tower shot. There's no way he's going to be able to dive you, especially on Kled. So, but what you could do in other situations which obviously this worked out because Kled misplayed. But assuming Kled teleports to his tower and doesn't make this misplay, you have the option to come around backside here and come up through these bushes, sit in this bush, because the chances that Kled has avoided it is almost zero. So Kled teleports to this tower, clears these minions, and then he's going to push up to at least right here, right, when the next minion waves me. Or he might even be right here. But if you're just sitting in this bush, you wait for him to get in between these two areas, pushing up the minion waves, and then you just get an easy return game, because he's not going to see it coming that you've been sitting up there for nearly a full minute. And you have the luxury, especially in a situation like this, you definitely have the luxury to do that because of how far ahead you are. So say Kled teleports to that tower, you're still 2-0, Jarvan is 0-2, so you have this massive lead, you get a CS lead on both of those champions, and you've also got a really nice CS lead in bottom, so you probably know that you don't need to be visiting bottom anytime soon. The only place that you're behind in it is mid lane, where Twitch did the level 2 gank. And so what you can look at doing here, right, is this bingy gank. If Kled teleports to the tower, he pushes up. When he's between these two lines, you just come out of the bush and you just kill him again. Or at least get his flash, because apparently he didn't flash either of the times he died, so I don't know what's up with that. It's a gank I like to do a lot of times, because top laners are some of the easiest players to tilt, and that's just because top lane feels so isolated, so when you get ganked a lot in top lane, you tilt more because you just feel like your jungler is doing nothing, more so than in the other two lanes. Because if you're mid or if you're bottom, you're seeing other teammates around you, but top lane is an island, and so it's actually easier to tilt top laners than any other position. Just in general, and so that's why those ganks are super effective, is it gets you more kills, it gets rid of their summoner spells, and it just tilts them. It looks like you had flash up there, so you probably could have just flashed instead of using barrier, because Twitch had red buff, so barrier's probably never going to save you from that. It's a solid invade. I like that you got a ward down there, and then it looks like you can go bottom. You could actually probably dive onto Misfortune if you still had wards up. You get your trinket up. So in a situation like this, with Misfortune like literally being 1 Q away from dying, you can come into the tri-bush here, have your bot lane push up minions under the tower. So if you push minions under the tower, it's going to encourage Misfortune to not leave lane, even though she should absolutely recall right now, because she's way too close to dead. Unless she just has complete confidence in karma to save her life. But anyways, so if you push minions up to under the tower, Misfortune's going to stay and try to last hit. So Misfortune's going to be going between this area right here, trying to last hit and avoid Xayah's Qs. So Lee Sin can just come into the tri-bush, put your trinket in the tri-bush, right, and then just get a Q out of the Fog of War under her. If you miss the Q, you just leave. But if you land the Q, you Q, auto E, she dies, and then you can ward jump back into the bush and be safe.
AAA batteries? Well, what's that in that drawer over there? AA? AAA. See,
Alright. Now Twitch just farming mid for whatever reason. What happened in mid while I was talking about bot lane? Okay, Lee Sin dove. That was a little bit awkward. It didn't look like the tower shot would kill Orianna, or that you would be in range for the tower shot. So Twitch just shouldn't come to the lane right now. Twitch could look to make a play bot lane instead. Or he could look to make an invade play. Because it's 650, so Twitch should know that the red buff is back up, because his blue buff is back up. So instead of going to clear that wave, Twitch could go down to red buff. Whenever the enemy jungler is off the map like that, you should look at making plays in lanes that they can't get to because they're dead, or in their jungle to take away their resources. And Twitch could easily have taken away red buff right here, instead of getting like 5 CS for himself. Misfortune is still down by some CS. Okay, you're only at 950 gold, so you're probably waiting on a BF sword right now. But you're gonna have to back and just get boots, I guess. And Taric is gonna get a Sightstone, I guess. That'll upgrade the to Targon's Bliss. Yeah, that's fine. Looks like, I guess Taric's gonna go for an Ardent Sensor, which is still a perfectly acceptable item. I know it got nerfed twice, it's still pretty good. I don't know what Lee Sin's looking for now, because he knows there's nothing in the jungle. The wolves just respawned, but he already had vision of that they weren't there when he first came in. You should look to clear the blue blast cone. You guys have really good ward coverage, by the way, but you could use the blue, not blast cone, but Scryer's Bloom to make sure they don't have any vision around the river, because even though that you've got 2 pink wards here, there's still the chance that they have vision somewhere in the river here. So that you could use the Scryer's Bloom to do that, and then obviously going bot lane right there doesn't do anything because your bot lane's not there. Alright. So let's think about where Twitch probably is right now. Alright, so you just went to their blue and warded it, which was a good ward. And it's already cleared. So Twitch is probably going to his red buff because it's about to respawn. And you should have that information as well at this point. So knowing his red buff's about to respawn, you should know that Twitch is probably going to be there. So you can look to fight Twitch on his red buff, which you're not in a great position to do because Diana could easily follow up and make it a 2v1, whereas Orianna can't roam as well. But if your lanes are in a different position, like if both your mid and top lane are pushed in against them, then you can invade because they can't leave their lanes. Because if somebody's sitting under a tower, they can't leave their lane to go help the jungler without losing a lot of tower pressure. And that also gives your laners priority to lead, because if you put, a minion wave, if you put 6 minions in the enemy tower, they're going to want to stay and CS those minions, whereas you can just leave and go into the jungle. But anyway, so since you don't have the option to go invade the red buff, then you should just go to your blue buff. Actually, you should go to mid, because mid's not in a position where you can hand blue off to Orianna. And that's what you want to do, is you want to give it to Orianna, since Lee Sin has no reason to use it, except for the 10% CDR. So you go mid, It doesn't even have to be a great gank, it just has to get Diana off the tower. So you just get Diana off the tower and then escort Orianna to get the blue buff, and Orianna with blue buff is going to be able to keep Diana pushed back from the tower plenty effectively. Diana doesn't have nearly that much wave clear as an Orianna does, without being in the wave and auto-attacking it with her passive. But if she's doing that, then Orianna can get a lot of free poke down on her, which means Orianna can keep priority in the lane. And then once you've handed off the blue buff, then you can look at counter-ganking Twitch when he inevitably comes back mid, or when he goes top if Jarvan pushes up. But you can... Giving the blue buff to Orianna pretty much makes Twitch need to gank mid, because you know Twitch is on the top side of the map, so it can't really go bottom. So if you let Jarvan just play passively, then Orianna pushes up with blue buff, and Twitch is going to come there, and then Lee Sin can counter-gank Twitch. Yeah, it looks like top lane's about to push in anyways. He's taking so much minion damage. Yeah, so that's why Lee Sin needed to go mid. He could have helped Orianna out. That was unfortunate. That was really unfortunate. You should have you could Q RQ instead of RQQ. That would be easier to land the Q. So now Diana's pretty fed, which is unfortunate because she only does anything if she's ahead. If Diana's behind, she's really bad, like most assassins. Easy follow-up from Lee Sin there. That was good. This Kled is pretty much power feeding. Yeah, at this point you're probably not going to be able to gank Diana without more priority, like you having your ult. That way you can actually do more damage, because she's big enough now with her Rod of Ages that it's going to be hard to kill her. If you had more control in mid lane, it would be a lot easier to take the Inferno Drake. Because Inferno is obviously something you want. Every champion except for Taric on your team is really going to benefit from it. Lee Sin went Warrior Enchant like he usually does. So you really need the Inferno Drake, because it's going to benefit 4 of your members very effectively. So everyone except Taric. So you can look to make an Inferno Drake play sooner than any other Drake, because it's just the most important. You're getting it at 13 minutes, or a little less, which is pretty good timing. But yeah, if you had done what I was talking about in mid earlier, where you gank mid to get Orianna the blue before dying to Diana like she did, then you can get more priority in mid lane, which lets you get the dragon sooner as well. Also, at some point you probably could have gotten Rift Herald by now, because Kled's died 4 times, so you could probably easily be getting the Rift Herald to either Jarvan or to Lee Sin. Jarvan already got the tower in top lane, so he doesn't necessarily need the Rift Herald. Getting it on Lee Sin means that he can go to either mid or bottom and put it down, or Jarvan can look to make a teleport play into either mid or bottom. Anyways, you guys are getting the dragon now, which is good. And I don't really know what their team is doing. They're responding very late to this. Let's see. They have not really a lot of vision around here. Like I said earlier, you guys have had pretty good vision control. Looks like they're approaching with 3 people now, but it's still really late. You guys are probably going to have the dragon dead before they can do anything. And Diana's not responding at all. She's just clearing minions, which is just bad. Good out of Taric, forcing this Fortune Flash. Yeah, Diana should have been doing pretty much anything else. Looks like Kled's dying to get a tower, which is okay. He's already 0-4, so like that extra death isn't really gonna put him super far behind what he already is. It's not gonna give you a lot of gold, so it's fine on him to do that. It's less effective because it's not first tower. That was a good gank mid there. So I don't know if you've practiced it at all, but on Jarvan you can EQ flash instead of flash EQ. EQ flash is way harder to dodge, but it is very difficult to pull off because you've got to flash it like just the right time during the travel time of the flag and drag. So I recommend going into a custom game or a practice tool and turning on the no cooldowns, like the cooldown auto refresh, and just practicing the EQ flash over and over again until you can effectively get it. Because if you EQ and flash at the right time, you don't get the extra damage from the EQ combo, but you still get the knock-up from your travel time. Which, if you did that there, you could have actually more effectively gotten the knock-up onto Misfortune instead of flash EQ, because flash EQ is a lot more predictable. And I mean, that's pretty much true for any abilities. Yeah, it was really bad for Twitch to do that. Just walking into 3 people. Gotta love the Demolish Room. It does so much damage. Whole time Kled's just been pushing. Lee Sin's so fed he can probably just fight Kled. Yep. So this is a place where Rift Herald would have been very helpful if you had already gotten it. You could put it down in mid lane. But after all the success you guys have just had getting both towers on bot lane, and you've gotten, you know, the first tower on top, and you've gotten the Inferno Drake, right? You probably, yeah. So like Orianna sitting on a significant amount of gold. Lee Sin just finished his Black Cleaver. He has enough money to finish his boots off. And Jarvan obviously just died, so he just went and spent his money, finishing up what looks like a Tiamat. So you guys could have, after getting bot, recalled and spent the money that you did have, instead of trying to immediately push mid, and that would have prevented you from dying to Diana. Because remember, if you have a, you know, 4k gold lead, but it's not on items, if that all that gold lead is sitting in your inventory as just gold, then you don't actually have a gold lead. You just have an experience lead, probably. So you gotta be aware of are you actually as strong as like the kill score and tower score says? Because have you just spent that money or not? And especially with an Inferno Drake, you're not getting a benefit out of an Inferno Drake really unless you've gone and you've spent your money. So after clearing the bot, you go back and then you spend your money, and then you can clear mid a lot more effectively. And you can also go and get your Rift Herald before going mid. And that way, because you need to be aware of Diana's ability to just insta-kill people pretty much, because of her being 5 kills. So she has the most money out of anyone except for Lee Sin, it looks like. Yeah. And that's just because Lee Sin has 7-1. But Diana can still probably kill Lee Sin, just because of how she works as a champion. And and it's way easier mechanically to play Diana than it is Lee Sin. Lee Sin has a lot harder time landing his abilities than Diana does, because her Crescent Strike is so large, and then her Lunar Rush is just a targeted ability that she can use twice. Alright, so now you guys are going to Rift Herald. I'm curious to see if you guys are going to use this on mid or top. Let's see. You cleared the dragon at just under 13 minutes, so dragon's going to be spawning in 2 more minutes, which means you have enough time to go top before needing to be down at the bottom of the map for dragon. So you could use this on top effectively. There are no buffs up right now, so you know you don't need to go clear any of those, which is just more reason to go top. So it's always best to go to side lanes, top or bottom, when there's no other objectives on the map. So like when Baron's up, you don't want to be on bottom lane. When Dragon's up, you don't want to necessarily be on top lane, unless it's a Dragon you don't necessarily need, and you're going to get more out of being top. So this would be a good time to go top, instead of just doing ARAM, which a lot of lower elo players really just feel like you should face slam mid all the time. One of the things that bothers me more than anything, and this is mainly just a solo queue issue, is just when you break an inhibitor in mid lane, and then everyone just immediately goes back to mid lane, like you're gonna fucking get anything out of it. If there's an inhibitor down, and it's not gonna be respawning in the next minute, just go to a different fucking lane. Also, speaking of inhibitors, right, timing them is important. Inhibitors take 5 minutes to respawn, so once you kill it, know when it's going to be back up. That way you know when you need to be back in the mid lane, or whatever the lane is. And then knowing what kind of lane, like map pressure you have by breaking which inhibitors. So obviously mid lane is going to be very general map pressure, but it's also the easiest to clear and then beat to whatever neutral objective is up. Whereas if you clear bot inhibitor, that's going to put a lot of pressure on people to be not on the same side of the map as Baron. Now, generally, people can just send their top laner down there with teleport, but if you force out the teleport as well already, then you know you have plenty of map pressure by clearing that bottom inhibitor. And then, like, you can clear top inhibitor if Elder Drake is going to be coming up soon, and you need them to not be on the bottom side of the map. So, there are a lot of other variables on which inhibitors are best to clear at which times, and then there's also just like what you have access to, but that's just general strategies on around which towers or which inhibitors should you clear when you can. So for a situation like this, I think going top lane is going to be best because there's no neutral objectives up, and you want to get that side lane cleared down while you're not going to be losing any other pressure on the map. The only thing that you could possibly lose by going top and taking that tier 2 is your tier 1 on bot lane. You're not going to lose your tier 1 in mid because you would easily just collapse, right? Like if they're pushing over here onto your mid tower, and you guys are up here on their tier 2 top, then you just come through their jungle and come behind them, which that's going to force them down over here, right? They have to run away that way, which means that you can then just push down mid lane onto this tower, and you still have your Rift Herald buff up in top lane. The Rift Herald is still down up in top lane, which means they still have to have somebody responding to that, or the tower is just going to go down as well. So if they are pushing mid, you get 2 towers probably, or some kills. So the only real option with you guys taking Rift Herald and going top is to push in bottom, and trading a tier 1 for a tier 2 is pretty much always a good choice, especially if you can get damage onto the inhibitor turret there, or rotate mid and do something. Looks like Diana's just solo pushing up, so you guys can try to make a play there, but... So now Dragon's coming up in a minute, so you know you need to start getting vision around the Drake. It's another Inferno, so you absolutely want it, and now's a good time. You've already got a lot of control wards in your inventory, which is really good. So somebody should already be putting a control ward down on the Drake to make sure it can be cleared. That was a good catch. And Jarvan looked a little bit disconnected from the team there, and then Lee Sin just got shut down because of that. Whereas you guys could have, after killing Twitch, you know you have basically a free dragon, because Misfortune's ult's already down, so you can just go down to the dragon and take it instead of trying to continue forcing a fight there. Yeah. So now's probably a good time to recall. Yeah, you got 3k on your mid laner, 1200 on the bot, and like a total of 22 on the bot lane. So that was a really good time to recall and to spend your money. after clearing that Drake, and then looking to take the Rift Herald top. Definitely top, because Baron's up, so if you guys get enough top lane pressure, you can fall back into Baron. You've got double Inferno Drake, so I'm assuming you've got just a ton of damage. Let's look, like, Jarvan's got almost 200 AD, Lee Sin has almost 300 AD, Orianna's got almost 300 AP, and then you've got over 200 AD on your AD carry as well. So you can very effectively clear Baron. I don't know what the fuck Kled just thought he was doing. Yeah, Diana is continuing to be a problem. So let's talk about these fights here. Alright. So the Rift Herald's been dropped up in top lane. Okay, so you're gonna follow that? Your ult was up, so you could have insected her. So this tower's like dead for free. That was bad communication there. There was bad communication because you both ulted at the same time on the same target, so that doesn't do anything. Because if somebody uses a dash or flashes away from Jarvan's ult while he's in travel time, it doesn't do any damage. And so now we also just need to look at what's happening across the map. Why is Orianna in bot lane right now? That doesn't do anything for the team. Your team, you've got 2 people in mid and 2 people on top. Orianna being bot lane just means that they have man advantage anywhere they want to fight. The tier 2 tower in bot lane is already gone, and Orianna's not going to be very threatening to the inhibitor turret. So Orianna 100% needs to be with the team, because she's not going to be applying much pressure, especially since she doesn't have teleport. There's no reason for her to be bot lane. And you guys just got Rift Herald, so you want to be applying as much pressure as you can in this very focused area of mid and top, where the tier 2s are still up. So Orianna needs to be with the team. Orianna being in mid right now would be way more beneficial, though I think it would be better if you guys just pushed as 5 on top lane. Because Diana's an assassin and she's ahead. So you know that you want to be staying together as 5 to prevent Diana's effectiveness. Because when you're as 2 or just 3 people, Diana has a lot easier of a time getting those kills and getting out. Whereas if you guys are grouped as 5, even though Diana's ahead, you can easily CC her. You know, you've got Taric, you've got Orianna ult, Lee Sin kick, Jarvan EQ. So you've got plenty of CC that you can use onto the Diana, you know, especially Lee Sin kick ult because it's targeted. So you definitely want to be staying as 5. So Diana went top and she gets 2 kills up there. And then she comes back down mid and gets kills. Whereas she also could just be on bot lane and just solo kill Orianna, because Orianna has no chance of fighting her. Diana has 2 items, and Orianna barely has 1. So Diana could easily kill Orianna 1v1 and then go top or anything like that. So by being split up in a 2-2-1 like this, it gives Diana option to go to any of the 3 lanes. And you guys don't have the vision in the jungle to know which lane she's going to be going to stop her from getting these kills. So then let's see what happens after she gets these kills up top. So now you here in mid know that Diana was just up top and just got these kills, and you're the only down person as the AD carry in their Twitch. So you know that they have 3 members right next to you in this red side jungle, so you should have already left mid lane and bot lane. Like, you don't have the ability to continue pushing right now because you will lose the 3v3 because both of your most fed members are dead, but their most fed member is still alive. So you're probably going to be losing any 3v3s, and it's a lot harder to kill Diana when Karma's around. And Kled still has his ult up. So once Jarvan and Lee Sin die on top lane after getting that tower, you just need to leave, and then go back to base, spend money or whatever, clear your own jungle just anything other than staying where Diana can reach you. And that's something you need to be aware of against any assassin. So like if this was a Zed or a Talon, you know, or even an Ari at 7 and 3, you just have to be aware of being split up against assassins is generally not great, unless you have somebody equally as fed that can fight the assassin. But none of your fed members are really that good at fighting a Diana. Whereas, like, Lee Sin could probably fight a Talon, because Talon couldn't use his stealth. But Diana is just going to do burst damage and win the fight. Because Lee Sin doesn't have any tanky stats yet, really. So they just finished the GA. Yeah, so you both had flash, so you should have just flashed out of Kled's ult. And Taric could have activated his ult before the Kled even impacted. Alright, so let's talk about what they could do now. So 3 of you are dead. They just got an ace, and 3 of you are still dead. So what they should be doing is getting vision on Baron. They probably can't do Baron because both of their AD carries are behind. They don't have enough damage. Diana doesn't have a lot of damage on Baron. But they should have vision around Baron. Like, let's look at their vision control. So, Karma just went over to clear some vision, but she's alone, and Lee Sin and Jarvan have respawned, so this is very dangerous for Karma to be here alone. The rest of the team is completely split up. Just honestly, what I was just telling you guys to not do is be split up like this against fed assassins, because Lee Sin being this far ahead with these damage items is an assassin, and Jarvan can be also. Jarvan has a lot of burst damage, especially if you take sudden impact. Then you can just really jump on people and do a ton of damage. Cataclysm at level 11 has really good base damage. You've got Black Cleaver plus your Q, which shreds armor, and the extra attack speed from your E, and then the auto attack reset from your Titanic Hydra. So like Jarvan and Lee Sin can both do a ton of damage to any person who doesn't by themselves, except for Diana, because Diana will win that fight because she's not meant to be. So they shouldn't be split up like this. They should, as a team, at least in a group of 2, with the jungler and Karma together, they should be getting this vision around Baron. But since Twitch was dead and Misfortune was dead, it should be all 3 of them, Karma, Diana, and Kled, all getting this vision around the Baron, clearing your wards out, and going in and getting their own vision. And speaking of vision, now is a good time, I guess, to talk about trinkets. Lee Sin needs to change his trinket, Twitch needs to change his trinket, and Misfortune needs to change her trinket. So MF should have the Swire's Orb. Twitch and Lee Sin both need a Sweeping Lens. Or if Twitch wants to keep his Warding trinket, then Diana could get the Sweeping Lens, but it's better on Twitch because he can stealth around. And since Lee Sin doesn't need his trinket for the wards, since he has his green spike. Just remember, when you're trying to get vision down, it's always safer to get vision as a group of 2 or 3 people than just going alone. Karma could have easily gotten collapsed on there. Diana has not really any good reason to be bottom. Make sure you guys still have a tier 1 up, but she should know that you're not going to be able to get that tier 1 very effectively. And also Diana being bot lane with no teleport means that you guys have priority around Baron. And since you guys have priority around Baron, Orianna could just go up top and go around Baron and be pressuring Baron. And if you guys are pressuring around Baron, especially that Twitch just got caught out, now you should just be on Baron. You should just go to Baron. You guys are at full health and mana across the board, and you guys can just get Baron. Diana's not gonna be there in time. She doesn't have, move speed items. She only has level 1 boots. She doesn't have teleport. You guys could very easily just be taking Baron right now. Even more so that you just killed Misfortune, you should be falling back and getting Baron right now. They can't contest you. They only have 2 people that could possibly go up to fight you right now. And then if they do, those 2 people do try to stop you on Baron, then you just kill them. So yeah, Diana just straight up recalled, which doesn't really help the team. Yeah. When somebody without teleport is bottom like that at this point in the game, you should definitely look to take Baron. Now, if you were behind, it would be different, but since you guys are ahead by 6,000 gold and 2 Inferno Drakes, Baron doesn't really stand much of a chance. So Dragon's coming up soon. It's an Air Drake. Not as important as Inferno, but still important. You guys have broken all of their tier 2 outers, so you should just fall back to Dragon and look to take it as soon as it spawns in 20 seconds. Even though Karma's support, she has a fair amount of wave clear. Diana's Q, and then they've got both Misfortune and Twitch who have, the ranged autos, and Twitch using the Hurricane. So they have a lot of ability to clear waves. Taric needs to be using his ult sooner. If Jarvan's going to make a dive play like that, it needs to be communicating so Taric can activate his ult before Jarvan even jumps in. That way, by the time Jarvan's down and he's getting his damage down, he can be invulnerable. This was a really awkward and sloppy fight, but it turned out in you guys' favor just because of your advantage. And then it was a good TP from Jarvan because you know that they aren't going to be able to contest you here. You can get this tower and you can fall back to Dragon probably. Especially if the team came to help, they probably shouldn't have come down there after clearing the top inhibitor. But you guys should be able to take Dragon now. And you should use the Scryer's Bloom there to get vision through their jungle. Use the Scryer's Bloom at this angle to get vision of this bush, the wolves, and that way you know if they have any vision where it matters. In the side jungle. So after clearing Cloud Drake, now you guys are making a play for Baron. This isn't a terrible time to do Baron. You just cleared their bottom inhibitor turret and you cleared the top inhibitor. You have vision of Diana, again being completely oblivious, and it's just like when you guys were on Dragon and she wasn't doing anything. And we see Kled as well, and I believe somebody was just bottom. I don't know if that was Twitch or Misfortune, but somebody was just on bottom for them pushing at their wave. I think it was Twitch. So you know that they don't have a jungler that can contest you. And Misfortune is somebody who's really good at contesting objectives because you're in this pit and her ult can do a shit ton of damage. So if you do see Misfortune approaching, Taric should go ahead and drop the ultimate to make the team invincible before the Misfortune bullet time actually comes down across the team. Do they have any vision? Yeah, so they have literally no vision of Baron. When you're in a situation like this as their team and you don't have any vision of the Baron, you definitely need to be aware that Baron's something they could do. And so it looks like Twitch got the blue orb. So Twitch needs to be using that blue orb on Baron. Misfortune should have already had one, and they should just be using it because when you're in a situation like this, you should be aware that the enemy team can do Baron at pretty much any point. Especially given the items that are on your guys' team. It's an easy Baron, and it looks like it's not even occurring to them that it could be somewhere that you are. Because if you guys are on Baron, Diana doesn't need to be this far up. if it had any idea, Diana would be pushing back, because if she's this far up on mid, it's really easy to go from Baron to killing her. Okay. This also doesn't make any sense, because she just got the notification that Baron died. Like, if this was 3 seasons ago, it would make sense that what she was doing, because the notifications for clearing Dragon and Baron used to not be global. Because, like, 3 or 4 years ago, you used to just have to have vision on it to know if somebody cleared it or not. But she just got the global notification, so why is she even still in mid? She needed to have left so much earlier. She's being way too confident in her ability to just get out. Yeah, this is really easy cleanup of the inhibitors with you guys being this far ahead. You lose some members, but it really doesn't even matter, because they're 3 inhibitors down and you haven't lost a single inner turret yet, which means they're pretty much fucked. And this, you guys dying gives you a good time to reset and buy some items. So I don't think that a Botrick is a good purchase here for Xayah. They only have 1 person that the Botrick autos are even going to be very effective on, and he's 3 and 7. So you don't really need to be worried about getting those autos down on Kled, or even having the active. Like, the active sort of helps you on Diana, but what would be better is just having, like, a Hex Drinker or a QSS. They don't have a lot of stuff that you can really effectively QSS. They don't have that much, like, strong CC. Kled and Karma snares, like, both have to be channeled for a little bit. So the QSS isn't that great, but a Hex Drinker could go a long way to saving your life if Diana jumps on you, or even a Wit's End. Wit's End is not an item that gets bought very often, but it's something that could be effective. Where is this next dragon that's coming up? It's another Air Drake, so definitely going for this inhibitor is really good right now. And now you guys should look at going down and taking the Air Drake. The Air Drake isn't going to help you close out the game. It'll help you with your rotations. That Lee Sin went in way too early. And again, Taric needs to be using his ult a lot sooner in these fights. Diana's being able to do way too much cleanup. Luckily, Orianna got a pretty good ult off there, and Diana just went to clear minions after getting 2 kills. You guys are lucky Diana was making terrible fucking decisions. Diana being this fed could carry a lot harder. So what you guys should do there after clearing the inhibitor, what I was trying to say before the fight started, is you should back off and go to Dragon, and Cloud Drake isn't going to immediately help you get into the game. The extra movement speed is very helpful, but what Cloud Drake is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to get Elder sooner. So you clear that inhibitor, and then you go clear the Dragon, and then you would have had Dragon at like 34, so Elder is going to be coming up by about 40 minutes. So you clear that, and then you've got the Elder that's in your back pocket, because as long as you keep map control, they have no way of contesting you at Elder Drake. And then after that, so you go top inhib, Dragon, recall, buy items, go to Baron. It looks like you guys don't have a lot of awareness of respawn timers on neutral objectives, and it's something you really need to be keeping more track of, because you need to be making your decisions 2 minutes ahead of time, right? So if you see that Dragon's spawning in 2 minutes, you need to be aware of how your team needs to be positioned on the map 2 minutes before it even comes up. Yeah, Diana's just doing so much work. It's really not great to be taking these sort of fights. So at this point, you guys need to be aware that you're not getting very far in fights, because Lee Sin's falling off. Twitch and Misfortune's going to continue to scale up, Kled's going to continue to scale up, and Diana's very far ahead of Orianna. Orianna's teamfight effectiveness pretty much like really never is bad because of her ult, but and the I want to say it's called Dissension. Her W, Dissidence, Command Dissidence, yeah. So she always has that teamfight presence, also Command Protect, right? So, but Diana's just so far ahead, she's able to clean you guys up very effectively. So it's gonna be hard to continue team fighting, especially since the team outscales you. Kled outscales Jarvan, Twitch outscales Lee Sin. Xayah's more late game effective AD carry than Misfortune, and Taric is more effective than Karma. But again, Taric has not been ulting very effectively, so it's difficult to get that kind of pressure down. So now you guys are in a situation where you really need to be looking at that Elder, and then winning a team fight after Elder Drake. But also, you guys were able to kill Diana there really effectively, without losing much. So you guys need to rotate and take it more inhibitors now. Now is the time that you guys need to not be afraid to fight. They don't have any Guardian Angels left up on their team, because you popped Kled's and then you since you cleared Kled's Guardian Angel and also managed to kill him and you killed Diana, they're not going to be able to contest you guys in a fight on these inhibitors, so you don't need to be so afraid. You've got the man advantage and you've got their most fed and you're down, so you need to just be brute forcing the inhibitors instead of kind of playing that scared game and worrying about Misfortune and Karma poking you out. And then you go to Dragon and take this Elder. You guys have been 4-0 on Dragons. You haven't gotten them quite as fast as you could have, but it's still really good to be 4-0 on Dragons and just continue having this map pressure. Even though you've been losing fights, they haven't been doing anything that gives them map pressure back. All they've been doing is losing fights, and then Diana's, after winning a fight, Diana's immediately been going to just the wrong place on the map, which has really been beneficial for you guys. If Diana would have had better positioning this game, it would have been a lot harder to close it out. But now that you guys have Elder Drake, you've grouped up 5, and you just recently spent your money, now's a good time to look to fight. So that wasn't nearly as bad as an ult from Taric. It was much better timed there, and was able to get down on Jarvan before any major damage came through. Xayah is able to get her Guardian Angel blocked off here after Diana uses her Hourglass, and so since you guys have Elder Drake, this is just a really easy cleanup. Diana's ability to just one-shot people has fallen off. You guys' a problem with a lot of assassins is that they do fall off. So it looks like you guys are able to just clean this up here. Yep. So it was a 42.5 minute victory, while being up 7k gold. So that's not terrible. You guys made a solid gold lead the whole time. You were at like 4k, and then you went to 6, and then 7. There at the end, literally half of their team's kills were on Diana. She had more kill participation than anybody else, and that's just because of how many kills she had. Like, their jungler had kill participation equal to just Diana's kills, which is fucking terrible. The jungler should almost always have the most kill participation on a team, because the jungler can be in any lane. Misfortune's kill participation is only 17. Karma had less kill participation than Diana's kills. So they were clearly just not functioning as a team. Whereas looking at your guys' team score, you've got assists are 13, 12, 12, 12, 16. Right, so you were clearly grouped up as a team, and it wasn't just like one person going and getting all of these kills. So Lee Sin obviously got the most kills, but he still only has a quarter of the kills instead of half of your team's kills like Diana does. Which is why it was even more of a big deal that Diana was being in the wrong positions on the map at the wrong times, because it didn't allow her to press her advantage. She would win a fight and then just go somewhere like bot lane and not do anything, or she would have no idea that you guys were on Inferno Drake, or she'd have no idea that you guys were on Baron, and she would just be pushing up mid while you guys are taking these free objectives. So Diana played very poorly, even for getting 15 kills. And their team was just not playing around each other, and Kled definitely made a lot of Kled and Twitch both made a lot of early mistakes that allowed your Lee Sin and Jarvan to get very far ahead. So a lot of their play was beneficial to you. It wasn't so much you guys playing well as it was them just being terrible. You guys were obviously doing well in the early game. I think your plays around mid and top were pretty good, and your bot laners played the 2v2 very effectively. Lee Sin had some iffy presences on bot lane, and Orianna had some iffy plays in mid, which allowed Diana to get so far ahead. But other than that, it was a solid early game up until about the 15-minute mark, I think. Actually, even really up until the 20-minute mark, I think it was there where Diana got those kills on top lane against the Rift Herald. So it was really up until there where you guys were doing pretty well in playing around each other as a team. But then you just started splitting up and letting Diana pick you off, which is really what got her snowballing. Even though she had like 5 kills coming out of laning phase, she wouldn't have been able to do much if you guys just stayed grouped up. So I think the main points from this game are keep objective timers, so you know at least a minute to a minute and a half to even 2 minutes ahead of an objective spawning where you need to be on the map. So if you know that, for example, Baron's coming up in 2 minutes, and you know that you want it, and that you have the map pressure to get it, like, because in this game you guys had map pressure the whole time, even with having 15 kills, even with your team splitting up, you still had map pressure, because Diana was really the only person on their team that was doing anything. Misfortune, I think, got most of the kills just from ulting. So if Baron's coming up in 2 minutes, for example, you guys can immediately be like, alright, how long does it take to walk from base to Baron? You know, how long does it take to recall? What items are we needing to purchase for this next fight? And, you know, how many wards do we have in our inventory to get proper ward coverage around it? Do we need to buy more control wards? Who already has control wards on the map, and where are those wards? These are all of the questions you need to be asking 2 minutes before an objective comes up. That way you can prepare for how to take that objective, and if you completely choke out vision control, it just stops anyone's attempt from getting it, except for very lucky attempts. And a jungler like Twitch, his only way to steal a buff, an objective, is to flash in and then die. Because you guys are going to have the control wards down, but he's not going to be able to stealth in. You guys will get the general vision of him, and then Lee Sin can get the true sight of him. And you can easily kill him. So he has to just flash, smite, and then die, which is shitty. Whereas somebody like Gragas could body slam, smite, flash out. Sejuani could Q, flash in, Q in, smite, flash out. Zac can just E over the pit and smite while flying. When Zac first came out, back in like season 3, I think it was Cloud9's first season of playing an LCS, and Meteos played the shit out of Zac, who Meteos was the jungler for C9 at the time, and there was one smite steal he got on Baron where he never entered the pit. He E'd from one side of the pit to the other, and just smote while he was flying. It was fucking hilarious to watch. So being aware of how junglers can steal buffs is also very important, to not just how you get vision control around it, but then your approach to taking it. And then that changes slightly when they have an AD carry like Misfortune, because she has such a strong ult for getting people out of the pit. But if you play around it properly, if you see Misfortune approaching for a bullet time, when you've got like a Jarvan and a Lee Sin, you can easily just kill her. Or if she starts to bullet time, you can back off. Her bullet time is going to keep the Baron aggroed, and then once her bullet time is done, you can go back onto the Baron while she's done damage to it for you. Other options you have to keeping junglers from taking an objective is if they come in to smite steal it, kill them, just completely stop all damage on the Baron or the Dragon, kill them, and then continue doing damage to it. That happened at Worlds, where a team messed it up. It was against SKT. I think it was RNG. It was either RNG or Misfits for the quarterfinal or semifinal match, where I want to say Peanut was able to steal. It was either Peanut or Blank, obviously. Was able to steal a Baron. On Gragas, he body slammed into the pit, and then Malzahar ulted him. And while you're suppressed, you can't use Smite. So when something like that happens, you get two options. You can either finish the Baron during the duration of the channel of the suppress, or you can kill the jungler and then turn back on the Baron. And so what they did instead is the AD carry didn't stop hitting the Baron, but the other 4 members of the team went on to Gragas, and so once the suppress was over, Gragas got the smite steal onto the Baron. So anyways, you should definitely just always be aware of how a jungler can take an objective to properly play around them. And the second key takeaway from this game is playing around assassins, I think. If Twitch was also ahead, or even at some point, this game would have been a lot harder, because then they have 2 roaming assassins that could easily pick you guys off. So just against assassins, you need to be aware of who can 1v1 that assassin, and if the answer is nobody, then you can't split push. And so you can't stay so split up. Alright. I think that's it for this game. It's overall pretty good play. There's just a little bit awkward of some positioning in some areas.